Hello, Kiss Army YouTube. Thank you for joining me here on episode 25 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. My name is Xander. And here joining me today is Rob from the Right Between the Eyes podcast. And today we are going to be discussing the awesome show that we got to see in Dayton, Ohio. We're going to talk about some of the awesome stuff that we got to do. And so, Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. This is awesome to be able to come in and pinch hit at the last minute. So
yeah, I was going to say thank you for joining me last minute. Jeb is taking the week off. He's all tuckered out from the Kiss show. He didn't do it like I did. I scheduled everything off and had everything kind of lined up, but he had to work and had to make the drive. So gotcha. He's not here this week. But thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be awesome. Obviously, this was not just for us a Kiss show. It was our last Kiss show. It was we got to do the Soundcheck package and all that. So that's going to be the topic today, just kind of talking about that and then talking about the show. But first, here on the Kiss Army Things podcast, before we get into the topic, we always do a Kiss spotlight. We talk about the album that we listened to either the most or most recently. And so if you want, I'll start real quick and do the Kiss spotlight. So right. This week I am spotlighting Sonic Boom. That album, we actually brought it with us and listened to on the way to the show. And I hadn't listened to it in a while, and it was awesome. I can't think of the last time I listened to Sonic Boom, but I enjoyed listening to it this time around. I think Jeb actually spotlighted it here recently. And so that kind of made me think, you know what, I'm going to go back and give that a listen. And I'm glad I did. I became more critical over it as the years went on. Once Monster came out, I was like, no, this is it for me. I love Monster. And so revisiting Sonic Boom, I think, was well deserved. I think I heard it felt like I was hearing every song for the first time again. And I think Martin Delilah has always been a perfect Kiss song. It's always been one of my favorites. But so I'm going to spotlight Sonic Boom this week. I just love that album.
Well, I'm going to spotlight something, and it's ironic that you said that because I too.
Are you doing it really?
Yeah. So
there you go. For sure. That's awesome.
So yeah, this of course I got this off Kiss Online, back when. So I got the purple edition of it. But
nice. That's awesome.
And I've been one of those. I've had strong opinions about positive opinions of both about Sonic Boom and Monster. And everybody's like, oh, if we could take one song off the End of the Road tour, it'd be Say Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's actually a highlight. That's taking away a modern day Kiss song. Not that I don't want anything from the 70s or 80s, right, but leave that in there. And over time, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I don't know if I like Say Yeah. And I'm starting to go, no, I've always liked Say Yeah. And All for the Glory, I like that as well. Dangerous was another one. One of my favorite tracks off Sonic Boom has been Russian Roulette.
Really?
Day one. I don't know what it is about that tune. It's just something I constantly crank up. So this MTV Unplugged and Sonic Boom were in rotation as we were driving around Dayton. MTV Unplugged was more, the wife-friendly album. And when I was out driving by myself, I was cranking up Sonic Boom. Even pulling into the arena, I was listening to Sonic Boom. So yeah, that's awesome. My spotlight as well.
Yeah, we had Sonic Boom, The Elder, Revenge. We had just the most random variety of Kiss albums. So we was like, hey, you know what? Let's just do it to it. Well, that's pretty cool. Are you drinking Moneybag soda too?
I mean, if you're on the show, you have to drink Moneybag. So
cheers, bro. Cheers.
I bought I bought a 4-pack, drank one, and put the other 3 up top up here. And when you said, hey, you want to be on, I'm like, well, I got to get this thing chilled so I can drink it. So cheers.
Nice. Classic. That's awesome, man. I think we're also wearing the same shirt too.
Yeah, same shirt
that we got at the show too. Well, that's a good segue. So let's talk about that. So, I mean, Obviously we saw Kiss live, but we also got to do with the Soundcheck package, which I had never done anything like that before. Had you done anything like that before? Anything close?
Close to it back in, I'm going to probably get the date wrong, for Queensryche's Tribe album. That was 04, 05. I can't remember the date. I did do a meet and greet with the band before. You could do the meet and greet was Soundcheck, and they only played through like one song, but we were up in the balcony. So I got to actually meet the band and got a signed photograph, but it wasn't quite like this where we were up in the balcony, still far away, so we couldn't be down
Oh,
up
okay.
front. So we were still, still way far away, but it was cool to see them sound check. I think maybe they did 2 songs and then talk to us for like 10 minutes afterwards and took off. Even though we didn't get to talk to the band for this one, being that close, I've never been that close to, any of the members of Kiss aside from like an indie expo or something
Yeah.
like that. But to see them play, this is close to front row as I'm going to get for a Kiss show. That was awesome.
How many people were at that other one you did for Queensryche? How many people do you think were there?
20, I
20?
think. Yeah,
For sure.
it was real small, real small.
There was a really large crowd, I felt like, at this Dayton show.
Yeah.
I was talking with somebody who said they went to the one in Illinois, and he said there was maybe only 50 folks there. This one looked like at least 100.
Yeah, my wife was asking me, she goes, ballpark. I was like, I don't know, probably the upwards of 75 plus, but starting to thinking about it, look at some other people's photos from the day. I was starting to lean, this might've been more towards the 100, because I know we filled the whole front 2 first rows and there were some people behind us. So
yeah, and we
it's
were
probably closer to 100.
I think we were in like the maybe 3rd or 4th row too. So I mean,
right.
And Paul kept commenting. He was like, "Look at all these people!" Like, they just kept kind of coming in.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it was really cool because before that even all started, we were hanging out in the captain's lounge, hanging out in the backstage area, and that's where you and I met.
Right.
You met my wife Daphne as well, and that was super cool. Just being able to chat about Kiss, because it took forever for that thing to start. It felt like
right. Yeah.
They said what, 3:45, and here we are like after 5, kind of waiting around.
Right.
But time does fly whenever you're chilling with Kiss fans.
Yeah, and that was just cool, being able to kind of go around the room. And this was probably one of the first shows in quite a while where I was by myself and knowing like, okay, I think you're going to be here. And I thought I saw you briefly for a moment, and I thought, I don't know what, I don't want to be that guy and come over and go, hey, I'm Rob from right between, So when you had said something like a purple Kiss shirt, and I turned around and there you were, I thought, oh, that's cool. So it was kind of cool. We got that out. And then just like any Kiss fans do, once you get into a room, you start talking about songs and albums. And then I felt like, as we were every now and then would look at the watch going, oh, I can't believe it's that long. Time was flying by a little faster because, we were starting to talk and it made that experience really cool where it was like, oh, you got a chance to talk to fellow Kiss fans and make an event of it. And I think that's something I really wanted out of this show, was to make this event that if this is going to be the very last show that I see, I want to walk away from this from 10 years from now going, man, I remember Dayton, Ohio. And I remember all of these things. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Whenever I think when we were done, I looked at my wife. I said, "Man, we should have hit record. We could have had another episode of the podcast right then and there, just from chatting right there."
I thought about it as we were talking briefly for a moment, because I was actually doing a video diary from the whole trip.
Oh, okay.
Getting in the car, getting to the arena, and when I got to the arena, I did when we first got through that first VIP, I filmed just a little bit once we got into that main room, and when you walked up, I put my hand in my pocket. I'm like, this is going to seem really weird to be like, hey, you want to document this?
We should have.
But on the other hand, I found myself during the show going, I don't want to be behind my camera so much that I'm watching the concert on screen. I kind of want to make this a personal moment for me that, maybe I only got a handful of pictures and I filmed a couple little songs here or there, but most of it, I didn't want to be behind the camera. I wanted to be just present and watch.
That's a tricky thing to balance, I think, because I'm the same way, where it's like, you know what, I mean, we're paying lots of money for this, we're going to want to remember it forever, so you might as well, capture it, but then you find yourself looking through the lens. I've actually trained myself to, when I record, just get it framed and then just look at the show. I look stupid, but I'm just like, I'm looking like this while it's recording, and every now and again I'll look and check. But yeah, it's a weird thing to balance.
Yeah, I turned the camera on, we went with Christine 16. That was the first song for the Soundcheck, I believe, if we're to that part. And I got to the hotel that night, and I was watching it, and it looked like a drunk monkey was filming the first little bit of it, because I was like, oh, I'll just watch. And I'm like, I'm filming the back of some dude's head, So I think I filmed one other song. I filmed Going Blind, where I thought, okay, I'll be behind the camera for this one and kind of, be able to document that. But for everything else, it was like trying catching pics and
Yeah, for sure. So while we were also hanging out and chatting about Kiss, somebody walked in who was a pretty unexpected guest, if you will. So while we're chatting, Eric Singer walks in, and I think he was with maybe Keith and somebody else.
Yeah,
But
I
that
think
was
so.
kind of cool, wasn't it? Just sitting there
Yeah.
chatting, and all of a sudden here comes Eric Singer. I'm not sure what he was doing in there, if he had a purpose or if he was just there to excite everybody, but still really cool to just watch Eric Singer, kind of standing around, hanging out, talking to fans and whatnot.
That was kind of funny. I think you and I, our backs were to him initially, and your wife was just ahead of us, and you could kind of hear the room get a little quiet where we're like, what's going on? And we're like, oh dude, like everybody's going for their phones. And
Yeah. Yeah, that was super cool. And then so once we actually got in there, I noticed immediately that the stage was a lot different, because you and I have both seen multiple shows on this tour, and probably every iteration, or most of them at least. And this stage was a lot different. So they have the cats now on either side of the drum kit. That was super sweet.
Yep.
And then they have those triangles as opposed to the pods. They have those triangle lights. I thought that was pretty neat. We're thinking, I guess the idea is that the real show is being sent over to Europe, and this is kind of their in between show. I still thought it was awesome. I thought that it was a great looking show and a great looking stage. What do you think?
Oh, I did too. And I think they kind of filled in some of the, I would call, dead space with more lights. I don't know if they remember being as many physical lights on stage, because in the first part of the show they had that big triangle thing with all of the pods that would release all the flames, and now those are kind of segmented around, but they filled the whole front of the drum riser and the back or the front of where the amps would be with a lot more lights. So I don't know if it maybe is the same amount of lights. It's a smaller stage, so the lights seemed more present, but this I thought was the most well lit of the show. And again, maybe it's just because the stage is a little smaller, so they just put everything. And at one point you and I looked up in the ceiling and we were like, oh, they got those triangle things. Yeah. And I thought, well, there's no way they're going to come down from those. They looked too small to come down.
It looked like they were like transparent too, like you could just put your hand through them.
Yeah. It's like when the show started, I was like, oh, clearly I'm wrong, because they're coming down from those.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was my first reaction. So let's see. So during the sound check, they played Christine 16, Going Blind, Harder Than Hell, Plaster was the last one, and
Got to Choose.
There we go.
Choose. Yeah.
So there was 3 songs from Harder Than Hell. Harder Than Hell, Going Blind, and I thought that was kind of cool that they played 3 songs from that one album. Harder Than Hell sounded great.
Yeah,
that, to me, was the highlight. I mean, of course they could play anything and it would have been great, but to me that was the highlight for me, was Harder Than Hell. Yeah,
Harder Than Hell. Going Blind, I think, edges it out just a little bit. I've always had a sweet spot for that song, so getting to hear it, we've kind of lived with the unplugged version for so long that's kind of like my go-to version, but getting to hear it in its electric form, I thought, man, it sounded really cool. The
other version of Going Blind I love, that I think is super underrated, it's the version on Kiss Rocks Vegas. There was the bonus CD they did with the acoustic meet and greet. It was like a mini unplugged. There's a version of Going Blind on there where Eric Singer is just, I mean, it's a little tiny kid, but he's just tearing it up on such a otherwise quiet song. I love Eric Singer, and we're going to come back to him, of course, because it was his birthday that night. But anyway, so is there any other comments you had about the sound check? Do you still have your guitar pick? Because we both managed to get a couple picks.
Yeah, this is bad podcaster, being that our show's mostly an audio podcast, that I didn't bring many props, so my pick is right around the corner. And I wanted to be able, right before you came into the sound check area, I was at a table with another guy just for a little bit, and of course I had my purple Eric Singer, all access to drumming t-shirt. And guy jokingly was like, oh, you don't like Eric Singer, do you? And I was like, well, what was the giveaway? And he goes, well, you're going to want this. He gives me one of Eric Singer's guitar picks.
Oh, wow.
So, it doesn't have, it has the end of the road tour date on it, but on Paul's, it says 2022. I think this is just one of the dummy ones. So I don't know if it was a handler, but this guy came in, gave me and the other gentleman, it was at the table that we were kind of leaning on, and he took off and was kind of handing him. So you missed like Eric's pick by like 30 seconds. You turned around, I was kind of like, oh, where's that dude?
Yeah, for sure.
But you got something from somebody else that I didn't even notice that Andrew walked in front of us at first. So you maybe talk on that.
Yeah, so there's no doubt that he gave this to me just because I would talk about it on the podcast, and that's smart of him because he's a Kiss fan, he's a Gene Simmons fan, so and I am
Yeah.
too. So I will do it. I will give the plug. So on June 10th, if you go to, I'm gonna try and get it without a glare, the hottest show on earth on YouTube, you'll be able to watch Andrew Schimbotti's new video project. So Andrew has been doing these videos. I'm sure you know, but just in case somebody out there doesn't know, Andrew has been doing these really really cool Kiss video edits. I'm not going to explain it correctly because he does so much work on them, but anyway, if you want your Kiss fix, he's done, I think, Tokyo and Japan 77, all the way up to End of the Road tour. This one is going to be the Hot in the Shade tour video concert. So if you want to check that out, definitely head over to the Hottest Show on Earth on YouTube. But yeah, so while we were in the sound check, Andrew goes, "Hey, are you from Kiss Army Things?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Check this out, man. Take this." And I knew he had him because I saw him post. So it was pretty cool.
I did too. And
it was pretty cool to get one.
Early on, I was like, "Oh, I had to try to see if I can find him." And when he came through, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be that guy going,
yeah, and it was very like high and by, and
yeah, it's very quick, a quick fly by, and I'm like, cool, right on.
But still, now one thing we both did get was the pass, the commemorative pass. And I thought these passes were really sweet because there's nothing to them other than it's just, hey, here's a pass. But I'm sure you can see where it's like a lenticular, almost like the cover of Psycho Circus, where it's 3D.
Yeah.
And that I thought was super cool because it actually says on it, it's just for commemorative purposes, no backstage access, no admission into venue without ticket. But the fact that they went this hard with it and this cool with it, I think is so cool.
I missed it in the first go around of the email. I thought, it'd be really kind of cool to get one of these passes, but I thought just for the sound check people, they're probably not. And then I start thinking about it. Well, they're probably going to have to at least identify, hey, what are you doing here in the building? So if somebody asked, they could see it. So when they first gave it to me, it was just like this. So I saw it without the lenticular side, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And I felt the back, and I was like, oh, it is one of the lenticular ones.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool that even the lowest tier of the sound check pass, you still got one of the cool lenticular ones. So if that was all that I got at the show, even minus the shirt, I thought that would have been enough to do the sound check. And then, we were talking before we went in, like, oh, the dates are different on the back of the tour because, well, I guess I need a fourth t-shirt. T-shirt. So
yeah, I was at the merch table. I was like, I don't really need to buy it. I've bought so much stuff. And then of course, I saw the new shirt with the dates, actually there's no dates on it. They just let the dates off. It's just the city names now.
Right.
They're like, hey, they could be canceled again. We don't know when we're going to play them, but we will play them. I was like, I'm just going to buy that shirt because that's hilarious. But it's the small details like that just make it, more special. Now, I saw when I bought the tickets for my wife and I, it said that there would be a Q&A, and there was no sort of Q&A there at this one.
No, in the Clarkston, Michigan show, the last one we went to, we got to the arena early. And the cool thing about that one, they had a merch table outside of the venue. So you could go buy stuff up front. Of course, it was raining, like cats and dogs that day.
Yeah.
So, but it was right up at the front of the entrance. And with it being an amphitheater, you could hear the Q&A. So I actually got to choose and Plaster Caster outside. So I counted that as well. I got to hear some of the sound check, but you couldn't make out what they were saying. You could, hear a moment of silence for probably somebody in the audience like us asking a question. And then you could clearly hear Gene's voice, but it was, because it's through a PA and we're so far away, it was all muffled. So I couldn't hear what he was saying, but knowing like, oh, that's probably how our Q&A is going to be, other than some girl in the front constantly talking to Paul, trying to get
my wife had a couple comments about that.
Yeah, I was telling my wife about it, and my wife was like, typical. But anyway, that was the only spot where I wanted to be able to at least ask Paul or Gene, like, hey, this month is the 30th anniversary of Revenge. Could you talk on that? And I wanted to kind of slip in like, and why aren't you playing any songs from Revenge? But I at least was hoping to be able to maybe ask something like that. And it was basically, they went through one song, took a brief little banter back and forth, and they were on to the next song. So I think everything was running a little bit longer. Like we said, we were waiting in that room for a while, that I think as we were coming in, they were already in the very beginning of Christine 16.
Yeah. And maybe I overheard somebody wrong, but and maybe it was like speculation, but it sounded like the Gene Simmons base experience or the meet and greet might have ran a little long
Yeah.
or something like that. But I was talking with somebody who went to the Soundcheck in maybe Chicago or something, and there was also no Q&A. But I was watching footage of the last show they just did last night in Hartford, Connecticut, and it seemed like there was a little bit of a Q&A.
Like asking Gene, why are you in your bathrobe?
That was hilarious. Did you see the video where he kind of like pulled it up?
Yeah, he pulled it up.
I was like, oh, Gene, you actually are okay. Wow. Yeah,
Wow.
that was something else.
We are commando tonight, Gene. All right.
So yeah, no doubt. Oh my goodness. But all in all, I thought the Soundcheck thing was really cool. It did feel a little rushed, but I mean, I turned to you like multiple times and was like, wow, like we are here.
Yeah.
And it's Kiss unmasked. I had never seen Kiss unmasked before. And so, I mean, it was very informal and very loose. And I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. That literally could have been the only thing I did that day. And so I'm not going to go to the show. But that was just cool in and of itself. Just had this private, intimate moment with 100 other Kiss fans and getting to meet you and your wife, and it was really cool for me to have that moment of like, oh, I'm going to the show by myself, and then getting to talk to you, and then both you and I get to share that moment where we just looked at each other, like you said, and be like,
this is incredible.
This is incredible. Yeah. So that was an awesome capper for the beginning of a great evening.
Same here. And that's one thing I've missed is that, the whole reason why we even started our podcast was the pandemic kind of shut everything down. Ditto. And we weren't getting any of that interaction. So to finally go back to an event and actually get to talk to the community a little bit. And then of course, get to be here with you talking about it is fantastic. And we actually, once we got our seats, I could actually, I was like, I'm gonna see if I can find Rob. And I did. I could see you up on your seat, and I was like, hey, there he is.
I was looking too far away. I had your guys' wrong section towards the tail end of the show. And I was like, oh, there he is. And clearly he's watching the show, and we're at Black Diamond. So I kept going, and I don't think they're in there, and there they are.
That's great. And had you ever been to this venue before, the Nutter Center?
No, I haven't. I've been around the campus, but I've actually been on Wright State University, but have not been at this particular venue. Have you guys?
Yeah, we saw them. It was our second show on the Freedom to Rock tour, and we were on the floor, like right by Paul's stage. But I really loved our seats because you and I both kind of had seats kind of farther in the back, up in the nosebleeds. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, it's just, we're going to see a cool Kiss show. But when I got to the seats, I was like, these are some awesome seats. The way the venue was like built, it was like, no matter where you're at, you can see, and you have a really good view. And that to me made a huge difference. And well, I think it also made, what, go ahead.
No, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I think we were even talking down on the floor that from looking at the Ticketmaster website, that it looked like they were showing a second level, and there really wasn't, other than you get up to that first level. The second level was actually just not a graded slope, but there wasn't like the mezzanine level. So I thought, oh, these seats are actually going to be pretty decent. And like you said, I think we had really good seats, assuming like, oh, we're really up in the nosebleeds, we're going to be on top of the roof essentially, and it really wasn't that.
Yeah, I was thinking, and then also, I don't think it really holds more than 10 to 12,000 people too. So I mean, a small show like that, it's like, every seat's a good seat. Yeah. But so let's talk about the actual show now, because again, we've seen multiple shows on this tour. So for you, how did this Dayton show compare to any of the previous shows you've seen on this tour? Is it memorable? Is it forgettable? Is it in the middle? Is it one of the best? What did you feel?
Of the three shows, I think this was the best show due to the experiences around the other two. The Toledo show was my first show. I missed the first leg, so I was actually in the second leg. So after COVID, they sprinkled in a couple other dates, and Toledo was the sprinkled in date. My mother had given my wife and I Kiss tickets for the Clarkston show as a Christmas gift. And of course, with COVID, that date just kind of kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. So we got to the arena for Toledo, and our original seats, somebody had got sick in our seats. He was in the wrong spot. Oh, so that was kind of chaotic of like, okay, well, clearly we're not going to sit in these seats at all. So we're kind of just standing there like, where are we sitting? So we actually got better seats. slid a section over, and the people working the arena were like, pretty much all the seats are bought and paid for. He's like, wherever you guys decide to sit, we're not going to move you. So we were just kind of uneasy those first couple songs where I was constantly looking over my shoulder, like, is somebody going to come down and go, hey, you're in our seats? To where it wasn't till like Heaven's on Fire where my wife was like, okay, just chill, let's watch the show. So I felt like in some way I missed that first chunk, even when Detroit Rock's sitting there coming down. I really wasn't in it because I was still looking around.
You were preoccupied with with other thoughts.
Clarkston, Michigan show, it rained. That was outside. It rained the entire show up till the drum solo. So, we were wet and ponchos. So, I mean, it's still great shows, but this was a show to just sit and go, that's what I want. So, yeah. So this was, I think, better. And I even want to even say better sonically, probably due to just the size of the arena. And, of course, having new stage elements to look at. The pyro looked a little different too, as well. They had a couple extra effects. It felt like there were more lasers at the show. So this one sonically and visually, I thought just looked, it sounded a lot better. So for me, I would probably rate the shows Dayton, Toledo, and then Clarkston due to just, the weather and what it was. Nothing that Kiss did, but I was a wet, soggy mess.
Yeah, just the overall experience. Well, good. I'm glad that the third one was the charm. For sure. And I agree too, because of the 6 that I've seen, I think this one is definitely up at the top. It just felt like the 5th, the last one we saw was in Tinley Park, and that was the first one after COVID. And that one was obviously a great show, but it was, the 5th one. So you think, it's all samey. I'm just kind of, seeing shows at this point. But the one in Dayton just felt like almost like a different tour, just because of the new stage show and just the energy that the band had. I don't know if it was Buenos Aires, kind of rejuvenated them, but whatever it was, it just felt like they had more energy at this show than any of the other shows. And that was so awesome to see. I mean, Tommy was shredding and doing things I had never seen him do. And Eric was tearing it up. Of course, again, it was Eric's birthday that night.
Yeah, and that was cool. Like certain fills you could hear like, oh, Eric's playing that fill differently than he did the previous night. And a couple different ways he would end the song where you go, okay, it's Eric's birthday, so he's probably a little jazzed anyway. But just being a drummer, I like when, even some of the traditional fills, he was kind of adding some accents in there. And I think, like you said, it was kind of energizing the rest of the band too, as well.
So you're a drummer too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're probably like tuned in to, oh wow, like he usually it's this fill and he's adding this, because I'm the same way, where I've noticed that on I Love It Loud, he's doing a lot of like really cool, interesting fills. And it started with like Dubai. I think I heard some interesting stuff that he started to add in around, the Dubai show. So that's pretty cool that because I'm also a drummer, so I have that same kind of, I'm always focused in on Eric Singer and what he's doing.
One of my favorite fills, I'm trying to remember what it was, if it was coming into 100,000 years, where he would do the double pattern going through. He was breaking it up between tom snare. When he would get to the center, he would switch it back up, going from left right to right left, and then breaking it down to the floors. I thought, well, that's cool. It's not something, it's the same pattern, but he was choosing different sound sources just on the fly of like, hey, I'm just going to change this up. So I dug that.
He was absolutely on fire. And then of course it was really, really cool. At the end of the show, after Black Diamond, they did that little special happy birthday to Eric Singer. That was super cool.
Yeah. And Paul looking at like, this looks like a cake that could be for anyone. Happy birthday, anyone.
This is the best cake from the supermarket.
Yeah,
that's the moments that I will always remember, like, because those are the things that kind of like they break the script a little bit.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, because you're obviously a longtime Kiss fan, so did you ever did you see any shows on the farewell tour?
Yes, I did. Oh no, I take that back. Not the original farewell tour. I had missed those shows, married previously, and that our schedules just didn't work out at the time. So I missed the original farewell, and that would just killed me going, I'm not going to get a chance to see. But I was like, well, at least I got to see 2 reunion shows, and I just kind of chalked it up to I'll miss that. But
so you have seen like the one on like Kissology Volume 3. You've seen those concerts.
Yep, I
And
bought the pay-per-view for whatever that was.
New Jersey,
New Jersey, yeah.
Rutherford. So
Yep.
and so during that, because that's one of my favorite Kiss shows to watch. And during that show, Paul is very quick to be, you know, very sentimental and saying, "Hey, you know, thank you for." I think at that point it was like 27 years. Thank you
Mhm.
for 27 years. Without you, we wouldn't be here. We'll never forget you. We love you. Good night. And there hasn't really been any of that on this tour, as far as him like stopping and saying to the fans, "Hey, thank you for half a century of, you know, of this." So I'm kind of curious as to your thoughts, because do you think that you know, Paul maybe should do that a little more, or do you think that just by him doing that would be maybe too cheesy and too hokey and they could just replace that with another song? Or yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
I've It's surprised me that they haven't said anything like that. I've always thought it would be, rather than say good night, the final word should probably be goodbye or
Yeah.
something like that. So that kind of surprised me, because all the way through the farewell tour, they were saying something like that at every city, you know, thank you for, you know, yada yada, whatever. And they really have, actually not they really, they haven't done any of that at all. So I don't know if it's, they've pretty much said, yes, this is it. So there's no need to say it, but I still feel it probably needs to be said that, you know, Dayton, Ohio, this is the last time you're going to see us, or thank you for whatever. One thing Paul did say was, we have played here 15 times
Yeah.
in Dayton. He did say that a couple times. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he actually say, if this is the last time or something along those lines, we're going to shout it out louder? I forget what song they led into, but he had mentioned it being 15 times and something along those lines.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm
I
misremembering that.
do. I can think of him saying 15, but I don't know if he said if it was the last time or anything like that.
Okay.
I might have missed that, but hey, I have no idea. It just does seem kind of odd that they're not kind of, yeah, that Paul, especially being the front man, the hype man, isn't
Mhm.
wanting to like make this more of a, you know, sentimental thank you to the fans, because obviously we're the ones that have, you know,
Right.
paid their bills over the years. But anyway, so my Zoom here is telling me that I have 10 minutes left before it's
Okay.
going to cut us off, because I haven't upgraded to the next tier, if you will. So we may have to wrap us up here in a minute. But
Okay.
so do you have any other thoughts that you want to talk about as far as this show in Dayton? Encourage other fans to get out and see Kiss as much as possible, because I mean, this is it. This is the last.
Yeah.
This is the end of the road.
For I've heard people say like, oh, I saw him and so at such and such date. I don't need to say him here. I don't need to see whatever. You and I said it, I think, and your wife too. Like I keep going back to the episode of The Office, you know, remembering the good old days, or we talked about, remember going outside and playing for that last time. If you would have known this was the last time you were going to go do that thing,
Oh yeah.
would you have enjoyed it more? So that's kind of how I was looking at this. I want to go see as many of these shows as I physically and financially can, but to just be a Kiss fan and go, I want to hold on to much of this as I can, to say, you know what, I had the opportunity to go see him and I went and saw him. And if this is the 13th time that I hear Lick It Up, or the 13th time that I've heard Detroit Rock City, at some point down the line, I'm going to go, oh man, what I would give to hear Detroit Rock City one more time
Live, yeah.
live. So that was my thing going into it. And songs where I was like, oh, here comes Shout It Out Loud in slot number 2. Like, I was enjoying Shout It Out Loud. I was enjoying Do You Love Me? And I
Yeah.
was singing Say Yeah at the top of my lungs, because I wanted to take those moments and enjoy it. So yeah, if you have the opportunity, go, because it's better to have gone than wish, like, oh, I wish I would have. Go.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that, you know, oh, I wish it was this or it should be that. I mean, I would just say to just, you know, put all that aside and just enjoy it. I mean, because there's nothing better than just getting lost in a Kiss concert and just enjoying the moment. And I think I was talking, I think I said it with you during while we were hanging out in that room. I was like, it's seeing Gene and Paul live in the moment, in the same room, and you're all sharing that together. It's a
Right.
limited thing at this point. And for us, you know, I thought the show in Indianapolis in 2019 was going to be my last show. And so that I put all of my, like, you know, this is the last show. Every show since then has been, hey, I'm just here to see Kiss. I'm so grateful, because, you know, there's going to come a day when we're not going to see Kiss. And So I just I'm glad that you joined me here to talk about that. And again, everybody out there, if you got tickets, you're in for a good show. If you don't have your tickets, go secure them, because this is the end of the road.
And I heard that these US shows are the only shows that the Black Cats are going to be. They're not going to Europe. They're not going anywhere. So
oh, really?
Us and the US are the only ones that are going to get to see Eric's Black Panther Cats.
That's really cool. I was wondering if that was something they were going to do, maybe do in Europe, and they thought, well, we'll just do it here. But so you're saying that's the one thing only. I wonder if did they pull those from the warehouse, do you think, or did they have those made just for
these were sculpted just for these US shows?
Wow, that is pretty cool. I feel a little more special now.
Yeah.
That's lucky. So that was for us, lucky number 13. That was your 13th Kiss show and my 13th Kiss show. How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. It was really great chatting with you and talking all things Kiss. We'll definitely have you on, hopefully for a longer session next time. I didn't realize that Zoom was going to kick me off, but that's what it is. What it is.
Yep. And we'll have you on our show where Zoom won't do that for us. So we'll definitely do that.
And to all the people who are watching the Kiss Army Things podcast, if you need more Kiss and you need a Kiss fix, definitely check out the Right Between the Eyes podcast. I think that the dynamic that you guys have is really cool, really unique. The 3 generations of Kiss fans, no other Kiss podcast is doing that and has that going for them. I've been checking out some episodes, and so I want to encourage everybody out there to do the same. Now, where can we find you, as far as where can they find your episodes at?
We're on basically all the podcasts, your iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. We're on all those. We're just starting to do some YouTube stuff. We put up preview clips on YouTube, about 2 or 3 minutes long, but we will do some full episodes on YouTube, but primarily we are an audio podcast. So if you have Apple Podcasts, iTunes, that's a place where you could definitely check us out. Like I said, Google Play and Spotify and all those.
Absolutely. So definitely subscribe to them on YouTube, and then also follow them on Facebook. You're on Facebook and Instagram too, right?
Yep. And Twitter as well.
And Twitter. So yeah, you know where to find them. So thank you so much, Rob, for joining me on episode 25 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. I really appreciate it, man.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Cheers.